Saturn. If you go there, you're never coming back. Let me give you one number, just one, and after you hear it, the way you see Saturn will never be the same. 1,800. That's Saturn's wind speed, in kilometers per hour. The most powerful hurricanes ever recorded on Earth reach around 250 kilometers per hour. Saturn's winds move at 7 times the speed of the deadliest storm in human history, and they don't last a few days. They rage for years, non-stop, without slowing down. But that's not even the scariest part. The scariest part is this. If you somehow survived those winds and entered the planet, you would start falling, and nothing would stop you. Because Saturn has no ground, no floor, no surface. You would fall endlessly through gas and pressure and heat until the planet crushed you into nothing. This is the story of what Saturn actually is, what humanity did to get closer to it, what we found when we did, and why going there, truly going there, would be a journey with no return. The planet that looks nothing like what it is. Most people picture Saturn the same way. Golden rings, a glowing sphere, calm and almost poetic, floating in the dark. That image is on posters, screensavers, classroom walls. It is one of the greatest visual lies in history. Saturn is the second largest planet in the solar system. Its volume is more than 700 times that of Earth. From our telescopes, it looks like a perfect solid sphere. The kind of world you'd imagine landing on, walking across, looking up from. But Saturn is a gas giant, and that word, gas, changes everything. It isn't made of rock or solid ground. It's made of hydrogen and helium, the same elements that make up stars. At its core, Saturn is a massive ball of storms and swirling gases wrapped in an infinite ocean of compressed atmosphere. There is no surface, there is no floor, there is no place to stand. What you see from Earth, that smooth, luminous sphere, is the top of a storm system so enormous and so violent that no human-made structure could survive inside it for more than a few minutes. Getting there is already the small problem. Let's say you decided to make the trip. Saturn sits an average of 1.4 billion kilometers from Earth. Light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes over 80 minutes to travel from Earth to Saturn. The sun's light reaches us in 8 minutes. Saturn is 10 times farther, and we can't travel anywhere near the speed of light. The Cassini spacecraft was one of the most sophisticated deep space probes ever built. It launched in 1997, used the gravitational pull of multiple planets to build speed, and still took nearly 7 years to arrive. A child born the day it launched would be in 2nd grade by the time it reached Saturn. But the distance? That's actually the easy part. The real problem begins the moment you try to go in. What happens when you enter? As you approach, the first thing you see is the cloud bands. From a distance, they look almost calm, soft yellows and beiges stretching across the planet like brushstrokes. They are not calm. These are storm systems extending thousands of kilometers in depth. Scientists have observed events called the Great White Spot, colossal storms that appear every few decades and wrap entirely around the planet, some large enough to swallow several Earths at once. But even the storms aren't the most dangerous thing. The winds are. 1,800 kilometers per hour. At that speed, the strongest steel structures ever built would be torn apart in seconds. And these aren't gusts. They are the permanent baseline condition of Saturn's atmosphere. Now a spacecraft enters. It begins falling, deeper and deeper. The gas around it grows denser, heavier, more compressed, until it stops behaving like air and starts behaving like an invisible ocean. Pressure climbs, heat rises, gravity pulls everything downward. The first sign of the end is a groan, metal beginning to bend. Then the hull warps, walls buckle inward, electronics fail, internal structures collapse, and eventually the pressure becomes so absolute that the spacecraft is crushed into wreckage long before reaching any center, because there is no bottom. What's actually inside? Deep enough inside Saturn, Hydrogen gets compressed so intensely it transforms into something called metallic hydrogen, a supercompressed liquid that conducts electricity like a metal, not gas, not liquid in any normal sense. Something in between, produced only under pressures our instruments can barely calculate. Deeper still, scientists believe there may be a rocky core, roughly the size of Earth, buried at the center. But to reach it, you'd need to survive pressure millions of times greater than Earth's surface. Millions of times. The atmosphere on Earth already presses on you at 14 pounds per square inch. At Saturn's core, multiply that by millions. Every structure, mechanical or biological, would be compressed into atoms. The problem of getting back out. Consider the most impossible scenario. A ship somehow descended deep into Saturn and survived. Now it needs to leave. This is even harder than getting in. To escape Earth's gravity, a rocket needs to reach roughly 40,000 kilometers per hour, what we call escape velocity. Saturn's escape velocity is 130,000 kilometers per hour, more than 3 times Earth's. And on Earth, you launch from solid ground. There's a surface to push against. On Saturn, there is no ground. You're falling through a dense ocean of gas the entire time. The engines fight simultaneously against crushing pressure, dense atmosphere, violent currents, and gravity pulling everything deeper every second. The planet would be trying to swallow the ship constantly, and it would be winning. This is why every Saturn mission has been unmanned. No human has ever been anywhere close to it. Only machines, without lives to lose, have been trusted with the journey. How close we've actually gotten. Pioneer 11, 1973. The first visitor. When it launched, scientists didn't even know whether a spacecraft could safely pass near Saturn's rings. Those rings are filled with ice and rock, traveling at tremendous speeds, and a single collision could destroy a probe instantly. Saturn wasn't even the primary mission. Pioneer 11 first studied Jupiter, then used its gravity as a slingshot to reach Saturn. In 1979, it became the first human-made object to visit the planet. It didn't enter. It flew past in just a few hours, captured photographs, measured radiation, discovered a previously unknown ring, then kept moving. Voyager 1 and 2, 1977, 2 of the most famous spacecraft ever built. Voyager 1 reached Saturn in 1980, Voyager 2 in 1981. Together they sent back the most detailed Saturn images ever captured at that point. They revealed the ring system was far more complex than imagined. They found massive storms, and they discovered something extraordinary about the moons. Strange alien worlds covered in cracked ice, ancient craters, and one moon so wrapped in orange haze that its surface was completely hidden. Neither Voyager attempted to enter the planet. Cassini-Huygens, 1997 to 2017. This is where the story reaches its peak. Launched in 1997 as a collaboration between NASA, the European Space Agency, and the Italian Space Agency, Cassini arrived at Saturn in 2004. And unlike every mission before it, it didn't fly past. It entered orbit. For 13 years, it circled Saturn and sent data across more than 1 billion kilometers. What it found changed our understanding of the solar system permanently. The rings, it turned out, are not solid structures. They're millions of individual fragments of ice and rock, some the size of sand grains, some the size of mountains, orbiting Saturn at incredible speeds, constantly shifting and colliding. The beautiful halo you see from Earth is a vast, violent debris field, but the most profound discoveries happened on the moons. The moons that changed everything. Enceladus is a small, icy moon, barely 500 kilometers across. Cassini detected enormous plumes of water erupting from cracks in its surface, shooting out into space, real liquid water coming from beneath a frozen shell. Beneath the ice of Enceladus lies a hidden global ocean, a real ocean buried under kilometers of ice on a moon of Saturn where temperatures drop to -200 degrees Celsius. Scientists now consider Enceladus one of the most promising places in the solar system to search for life beyond Earth. Not because we found anything, but because we found the conditions that make finding something possible. Then there's Titan. Titan has rivers, lakes, and rain, a complete weather cycle. But none of it is water. Titan's rivers are liquid methane, its rain is methane, its atmosphere is denser than Earth's. Surface temperature, -179 degrees Celsius. It is a world where everything water does here, methane does there. Strange, alien, and yet strangely familiar. A landscape shaped by liquid flowing over rock, clouds forming and breaking, seasons changing, just built from entirely different chemistry. Perhaps life doesn't have to look like us to exist. How Cassini ended, and why it had to. By 2017, Cassini was running out of fuel. Control would eventually be lost, and that created a problem. Enceladus might harbor microscopic life in its subsurface ocean. If Cassini drifted and crashed there, it could carry Earth bacteria, potentially contaminating a world with life of its own, making it impossible forever to know whether anything we found was native or imported. Scientists couldn't allow that risk, so they aimed Cassini directly at Saturn. On September 15, 2017, it descended into the atmosphere. Pressure built, heat rose, metal buckled. The spacecraft that had orbited Saturn for 13 years, that had discovered hidden oceans and methane lakes and ice plumes erupting into space. Piece by piece, it was taken apart. Swallowed by the planet it spent over a decade studying. A difficult ending, but the right one. What Saturn leaves you with. We now know its rings are debris fields, not solid structures. Its winds exceed 1,800 kilometers per hour. Its moons hold oceans under ice and rivers of methane, and one of them, a frozen world barely visible from Earth, might be home to something alive. None of that makes Saturn any less unsettling. It is a planet with no ground, pressure that climbs without limit, winds that would destroy anything we build, and moons wearing frozen surfaces like masks, hiding dark oceans beneath. Saturn looks peaceful from a distance, beautiful even, but it is one of the most hostile environments in the known universe, wearing a set of glowing rings like a disguise. Every mission studied it carefully, from a distance, with machines instead of people. Because the scientists who built those machines understood something very clearly. Going to Saturn, truly going there, would not just be dangerous. It would be a journey with no return.